Like to Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's reciters are Pavan Prabhu in Sanskrit and Radha Kanti Mataji in English from Canto 3, Chapter 22, verses 24 to 39. We also have a bhajan at 8:40. Gaurangi Devi Dasi Mataji is singing the bhajan and Namrata Mataji is reciting the English translation. Bhajan title Krishna Prema Mai Radha. Pavan Prabhu, when you're ready, please start with the invocation 3 times. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Please forgive me if I'm doing any mistakes. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pratham Duhitaram Samrat Sadrakshaya Gata Vyataha Upaguhya Cha Bahubhyam Autkantya Matistasyaha.
Translation: thus relieved of his responsibility by handing over his daughter to a suitable man, Swayambhu Manu, his mind agitated by feelings of separation, embraced his affectionate daughter with both his arms.
Asaknuvam Viraham Munchan Baspakalam Muhu Asinchad Ambavatseti Netroder Duhitu Shikaha.
The emperor was unable to bear the separation of his daughter. Therefore, tears poured from his eyes again and again, drenching his daughter's head as he cried, "My dear mother, my dear daughter."
Amanshyatam Munivaram Anugnatha Sahanuga Prataste Ratamaruhyam Sabharya Swapuram Nripam Ubayor Sikulyayam Sarvastya Surodaso Visinam Upasanthanam Pasyan Ashrama Sampadaha.
After asking and obtaining the great sage's permission to leave, the monarch mounted his chariot with his wife and started for his capital, followed by his retinue. Along the way, he saw the prosperity of the tranquil seers, beautiful hermitages on both the charming banks of the Saraswati, the river so agreeable to saintly persons.
Tam ayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajapatiം gita samstuti vaditrai pratyudyuh praharsitha.
Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments.
Parismati nama puri sarvasampad samanvitha nyapathan yatra romani yajnasyagnyam vidhunvatha kushaha kasaha tav evasan shasvadarita parchasa ऋषयो yai parabhavya yajnaganan yajnam chire.
The city of Brahmas The city of Barhismati, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Boar. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusha grass and kasa, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifices.
Ushakashamayam bahir astirya bhagavan manhum ayajad yajna purusham labdhastanam yato bhuvam.
Manu spread a seat of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe.
बृहस्पतिं नाम विभुर् यां निर्विश्य समावसत् तस्यां प्रविष्टो भवानं तपत्रया विनाशनम्.
Having entered the city of Barhismati, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence.
सभार्या सफराजा कामान् भूभुजेन्य विरोधथा संज्ञामनसत्कीर्ति शस्त्रिभिः सूर्यगयाखया प्रत्युवेस्व अनुबद्धेन हृदया शृण्वन् हरे कथा.
Emperor Swayambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor, and early in the morning, every day, he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart.
निस्नातं योगमायासु मुनिं स्वयंभुवं मनुं यत् अभ्रं शीतं भोगा न शेखुर्भगवत्प्रणं परम्.
Thus, Swambhu Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in a Krishna conscious atmosphere.
अयातायामास्तस्यासन् यामाः स्वन्तराय भानः श्रुवन्तोद्यतो विष्णो पूर्वतो ब्रुवतः कथाः.
Consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life, consisting of a Manvantra era, was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord.
स एवं स्वान्तरं निन्ये युगानाम् एकसप्ततिं वासुदेवा प्रसङ्गेन परिभूतगतित्रया.
He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the four ages, 71 times 4,320,000 years, always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus, he transcended the three destinations.
शारीरा मानसा दिव्या वैयासेय च मानुषः भौतिकाश्च कथं क्लेशा बाधान्ते हरिशंश्रयाम्.
Therefore, O Vidura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Krishna in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and other men and living creatures?
यः पृष्टो मुनिभिः प्राह धर्मान् शुभान् नृणां वर्णाश्रमाणां च सर्वभूताहितः सदा.
In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swambhu Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashramas.
एतदादिराजस्य मनोश्चरितम् अद्भुतं वर्णितं वर्णनीया सा तदपत्योदयं शृणु.
I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swambhu Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, devotees, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji. Beautiful recitation.
Krishna Govinda, Prabhuji, you here? Yeah, I can see you online.
Yes, Mataji, he's on, but he's muted.
Hi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna. You can hear me okay, yes? Sorry about that.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Some message that came up, I didn't get a chance to click OK, and then I could actually get into the Zoom. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for the wonderful devotees, Pavan, Prabhu, and Rita Mataji for recitation, the Sanskrit and English. Thank you. Please take some humble obeisances. My name is Krishna Govind Dasa. Be covering the chat for today, 30th of November, 2025. We're going to be covering Canto 3, the status quo, continuing on with Chapter 22, the marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. And the verses that we're reading today is 32 and 33. I'm just going to share my page and just let me know if you can see it okay. Yep, you can see that?
Yes, Prabhuji, yeah. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
thank you. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Norotanam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nasashva Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Matam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay, so it's Canto 3, Chapter 22, verse 32. Marismatim nama vibhu yam nirvishya samavasat tashyam pravishto pavanam tapatraya vinashanam. Translation. Having entered the city of Parismati, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The material world or material existential life is filled with threefold miseries. Miseries pertaining to the body and mind, miseries pertaining to natural disturbances, and miseries inflicted by other living entities. Human society is meant to create a spiritual atmosphere by spreading the spirit of Krishna consciousness. The miseries of material existence cannot affect the status of Krishna consciousness. It is not that the miseries of the material world completely vanish when one takes to Krishna consciousness, but for one who is Krishna conscious, the miseries of material existence have no effect. We cannot stop the miseries of the material atmosphere, but Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by the miseries of material existence. For Krishna conscious person, both living in heaven and living in hell are equal. Swayambhuva Manu created an atmosphere wherein he was not affected by material miseries, is explained in the following verses. So I'm just going to recite the Mangalacharan prayers. Please join in. Om Agyana Timurndasya Gyana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshra Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tatati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivashakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Ivacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're continuing on the story between Swayambhuva Manu, who is actually the emperor of the universe. He is actually the son of Brahma, and with his wife Shatarupa, they came to see the great sage Kadama Muni, because so happened his daughter, Swayambhuva Manu's daughter Devahuti, was in the right age to get married. And it so happened Swayambhuva Manu recognized all the wonderful qualities of the Kadama Muni. So when they actually came to the ashram, he glorified Kadama Muni in a way that actually recognizes his wonderful qualities, mentioning that he's a Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa, as we mentioned last week, is somebody who's completely renounced. When you're in the sannyas stage, there are 4 stages within the sannyas stage. So the highest stage will be the stage of Paramahamsa. That is the stage when you are free from any envy, free from any sort of desire for greed, any recognition. He does not see any, or does not have any illness or any motive against any other living entities at all, except for bringing them into Krishna consciousness. It's fully dedicated in remembering and serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the quality of a Paramahamsa. And in return, also, Kadama Muni also glorified Swayambhuva Manu, recognized him as an authority, and also describes him as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And he glorifies him to say that he is also like the great demigod, like Surya Narayan, the sun god, Chandra Dev, the moon god, Vayu, the wind god. He glorifies him as even equivalent to Yamaraj and Dharmaraj, the god of in charge of a religious occupation. So it shows you that Swayambhuva Manu is not an ordinary person at all, but a great personality. So just remember, before I just carry on, as I read the translation and the purport, just offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavas as well, and also seeking the blessings of my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishta Bhutale, Srimad Bhakti Swami Tinamane, so seeking the blessings of His Divine Grace, I say Bhaktivedanta Swami Sharabhapad, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishta Bhutale, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gaurvani Pachayana, Nirvishesha Sanyavadi, Paschatya Desatarana, kindly seeking all the blessings of all the Vaishnavas listening for today's class. May whatever I say is focused on the wonderful glories and topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotees. And may whatever I say is pleasing, beneficial, and truthful, not only just for the audience, and so also helps me in my own spiritual progress. So here in this purport by Srila Prabhupada, he mentions the threefold miseries. There's 3 particular words that are reflected to these particular 3 types of miseries. Does anybody know what the 3 names are of these 3 miseries, types of miseries?
Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, and
Very good.
Adhyatmik.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you very much, Vishaben. So we can break it down to smaller segments. Now, miseries pertaining to the body and mind. What is the name for that? Do you know? Adhyatmika. So that's actually reflecting on the miseries that our body and our mind are always constantly going through every day in our life. We have thousands of thoughts in our mind. where our body is always constantly suffering from different sort of ailments. It could be the weather, it could be just self-injury, it could be injury from another person as well. Of course, that's also covered in another sort of part of misery as well. Now, what is the miseries pertaining to natural disturbances? What is the name for that? Does anybody know?
Adi Bhautik.
It's actually natural disturbances, Sadi Devika.
Acha.
The reason being because natural disturbances are created.
Daivik.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
it. Yeah, that's actually caused by the devas. Just in the Bhagavad Gita, it actually mentions about when we don't actually recognize the qualities and the facilities that's given by the devas, like food, water, rain, sun, light, energy, everything that you see around us, that's provided to us to the living entities, and it's all provided by the demigods. Of course, they are actually taking on the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at the same time, it is our duty to respect and honor whatever they provide to us. If we don't actually honor anything that they've given to us, then certainly there will be calamities. There'll be calamities because we're also causing the inflict of injuries to one another. There's constant wars that's going on between one country and another country. One country is destroying another culture just for them to take control of that particular nation, bringing in about their own sort of religion, bringing about their own beliefs, culture, destroying other beliefs. In some way, it could be something that could be very in a beneficial way, but sometimes it could be also in a dangerous way as well. Just like we historically how India has been invaded by so many different cultures from different religions as well. We have the Mughal rulers. We have the Christianities as well who came in. Of course, in some way, there were some sort of considerations as well because there must have been a reason why these tyrannical rulers came in. Perhaps within our own society, we weren't following the instructions as laid out by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there was injuries, unnecessarily deaths caused by so many people who came to invade this country, not just India, but of course other countries as well. But you can see the consequences, what's happening. Those countries that have been invaded, they also taken that suffering themselves now in different ways. And now the final one, the miseries inflicted by other living entities. What is that referred to? What is the terminology for that? Yep, that's the last one. Miseries inflicted by other living entities also could be because of our karmic reactions, or it could be through insect bites, it could be through other animals. You know, when we go to India, we're always cautious about mosquitoes coming in contact with us. We try and take precautions. I'm not sure if anybody has had any ailments or serious illnesses when they've traveled abroad, like malaria. I know what it's like having malaria when you're hospitalized for 3 or 4 days. It's not very pleasing at all. But this suffering is caused by your own sort of doing through wanting to associate with other living entities and not having Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the center of our lives. So here, Srila Prabhupada actually mentions human society is meant to create a spiritual atmosphere, spreading the spirit of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. Of course, there will always be material miseries that still take place. I mean, even as devotees, we go through difficulties in our life every day. We're going through different struggles, just like every living entities. It's not that there is any sort of differences between one who believes in God and one who doesn't favor God. But of course, those who favor God actually understand these miseries are taken upon ourselves because of our own desire to suffer in this material world, because we wanted to enjoy away from Krishna himself. But we can actually understand that the miseries can be actually mitigated by understanding those miseries, the having to be conditioned by the changes of the weather, the effects of other living entities inflicting injury to us, other living entities attaining, giving suffering to us as well as like being affected by the different causes of Mother Nature as well. We understand this are going to be taking place, but we can actually understand, we can overcome certain situations by saying, well, Krishna is in control, Krishna is the cause of certain activities that's taking place. But if we understand the actions that's been taking place is because of our karmic reactions by ourselves exploiting the material nature as well. Sometimes people may think that, oh, coming into Krishna consciousness should free us from all sort of sufferings, free us from all material anxieties. Of course, that's all mitigated as well, because it depends on each person how we take that Krishna consciousness and how serious we become in our Krishna consciousness as well. So say, for instance, if you have a car accident, one particular person may be very much full of anxiety. Oh no, my new car, I spent a lot of money, it's crashed, it's damaged, now I've got to get it repaired, insurance is going to go high, there's all sorts of anxieties. How am I going to get to work now? How am I going to get from A to B, get the shopping done? Whereas another devotee may say, oh, Krishna, I had a car accident, but you're so merciful, you protected me, this machine around me protected me, I could have died, my children could have died, anything could have happened. And we can see spiritually, you hear wonderful stories where devotees have been protected by certain situation where Krishna takes control of what's happening in their life, protecting them for a harmful situation that may have been involved in a very dangerous car accident, but they've been protected. But at the same time, there may be a situation where a devotee has been involved in a car accident and has died, unfortunately. So we have to also thank whatever's happened has happened for a certain reason, certain things that we cannot understand. So sometimes we tend to think that coming into Krishna consciousness is like a life of utopia where there's no suffering at all. It's just pure happiness. Of course, that is there. When you actually come to the temple, when you see their lordships, when you see the association of the devotees, when you take prasadam, when you do a devotional service, you feel transcendently blissful. But when you go to work, it's completely opposite. People talking about mundane activities, you go in the canteen, there's nothing edible to eat because the limitations of returns, offerings or menu, even like just going to work may not be so spiritually conducive in any way, may not have anything of spiritual benefit, but you know you've got to do it because you've got to earn a livelihood. But at the same time, when you try and understand that you're sort of a individual part and parcel, and you could actually participate in a way that you could bring other people into Krishna consciousness, bring prasadam to other colleagues, talk about Krishna, talk about your experience, invite them to the temple, give them a special book about Krishna consciousness. They may be going through difficulties in their own journey, perhaps opening up a little friendly conversation, a friendly discourse about how you can help them. Just like many times in your spiritual journey, there may be difficulties in your life. When you reach out to a devotee, they may sometimes help you in that spiritual way of reawakening yourself. Just like sometimes you may have some sort of illness in your life. Could be an injury, could be some stomach ache, could be some headache, all sorts of ailments that we have every day, some symptoms of life that we have, every challenges that we have. Every day is a different day. But sometimes you book an appointment to see a doctor, and the doctor says, okay, Mr. Dasi, what's happened? Tell us what's going on. And you just give them an explanation of what's going on. And just being with that doctor, somehow, I'm not sure if all of you have experienced it, but myself, when I've gone to see a doctor, just by talking to him, sometimes a lot of those injuries are just like in the mind and could be evaded. But even though he may give you the medication, so similarly, when you see a devotee, when you go through difficulties in your journey, sometimes even speaking to a devotee eliminates a lot of those difficulties that you may face. And that medicine that gives you, chanting, be happy, giving Krishna consciousness, reading Srila Prabhupada's books to you, that association with a devotee uplifts you from that dangerous situation that you may have. So although we may suffer in the spiritual world by the three miseries, we also have a duty to understand by becoming Krishna consciousness, we may not be any different from somebody who's a devotee and a non-devotee. We may be suffering the same, just like recently there's all these floods taking place. We may be in that situation. I do know a devotee who spent a lot of money in renovating their house, spent a lot of money, new home that they were going to move into, and everything was ready to move in. For some reason, the builders did some really unqualified sort of professional work in some of the roof area, and as a result, there was a bit of leakage from the roof, and it caused a bit of flooding in the kitchen and other parts of the floor area. The devotee was very devastated. He started crying. I mean, to a certain degree, I mean, this is obviously confidential, but I'm just explaining it to you because you're all confidential listeners. But then when I reflected on, oh, boy, you spent a lot of money. How did you feel? Because you were going to, obviously arrange for facilitation for devotees to come, and you were going to make it as a home for Krishna. Then they actually explained, yes, I actually spent a bit of money trying to arrange for this house to be nicely decorated. And these situations happen. But at the same time, through the insurance company and just go through logistics of trying to resolve it, there was a bit of setbacks, but yet Krishna, he kindly arranged certain things to take place, and the house was properly repaired and I was able to move in. So there may have been some difficulties in your life, some sort of obstacles. And myself, I've gone through that same situation as well, where something's happened to, say, a car accident or something in my life. When I depend on Krishna, he gives me that reassurance. Yes, there may be a challenges of some time, a period of time of challenges. Krishna, are you there? I'm praying to you. Please help me. Of course, when we pray to Krishna, we're praying to actually serve him rather than him serve us. But still, as the Father, there is no harm in us praying to Krishna to help you, protect you. After all, we're so insignificant compared to what Krishna can resolve in all our day-to-day problems, not just for ourselves, for millions and millions and millions of all living entities around the world. Whether they may be devotees or non-devotees, Krishna is the ever well-wisher for every person. So we just have to pray to the devotees, pray to the Supreme Lord, please help me, whatever difficulties that we may have. We may not be Paramahamsas, we may not be on that stage of pure level of devotional service. We may be still, after lifetime, still coming to that stage of understanding who Krishna is, understanding who the spiritual master is. Just like, I just mute these devotees. If you could just mute yourself, yeah, thank you. If we can understand, even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, amongst thousands of men who aim for perfection, and of those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows me in truth, which I mentioned briefly last week. And also, again, he mentions that after many, many births, he is actually in knowledge, surrenders unto me, and he actually comes to me without fail and in this next life. So just going back onto those three particular words, Adidevika, Adibhotika, Adhyatmika, I'm just going to share two verses from the Bhagavad Gita. The first verse is Bhagavad Gita 256. Does anybody want to read this at all? And the translation? This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 256. Yeah, contents of the Gita summarized. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
The verse, Prabhuji?
Yes.
At the Sanskrit, please. No.
Oh, you want the Sanskrit? Okay. That's even better.
Dukkeshvanu dvigam namana sukheshu vigata sprihaha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthidhir muniruchyate.
Yep, and the translation?
One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and one who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind.
That's very nice, thank you. So when we're free from attachment, fear, and anger, and we actually go through the threefold miseries, whether in happiness or distress, in victory or defeat, gain or loss, we actually become very steady in our mind and focusing on the Supreme Lord. And what does Srila Prabhupada say? A sage of a steady mind here is called, I wonder if it's got it here, yeah, a Muni, a sage. So Prabhupada mentions that when you have, is called a Muni, fixed in mind. So of course, most of us, we're not in that stage at this stage. Well, certainly I'm not. Because we always have attachment, we have certain fear in our life. Every day in our life, there's different kinds of things that affects us. Even in our dreams, there may be sometimes when we wake up because we're not having a pleasant dream, we get angry for unnecessary reason. Perhaps, when you're driving a car, your personality is not the same as when you're in the temple because you're always inflicted by the nature of other drivers. While you're driving, you may not do anything wrong, but other drivers may be doing something that causes you to be angry, or you may have certain difficulties in your life, giving up attachments. Maybe you have a very good job. Maybe you have a good security in your life, a good house, good wife, good family, good children. Having that attachment is very good, but also remembering that attachment has come because of the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord, giving that benefits to you. Now, just going back to those three verses, Adhyatmika, Adhibodhika, and Adhidevika, this is from Bhagavad Gita 8.3, attaining the Supreme. And it gives a bit more detail about those three words, where they come from. Like, for instance, Adhyatmika, do you know where that particular word comes from? Or what does it actually mean, Adhyatmika or Adhyatma? You know the word Atma, soul, and Adi, normally.
Adi is something no beginning, no end.
Yeah,
Has
so
been
almost
there
like,
for a long time.
yeah. So Adhyatma means the self, the self referring to the soul. So Bhagavad Gita 8.3. Anybody would like to read this?
If nobody's volunteering, I don't mind doing it.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Or somebody wants to do it? I think I heard some noise.
If it's okay, Mataji.
Please go ahead, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Haribo, Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita 8.3. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Aksaram Brahma Paramam Svabhavo Dhyatmam Uchyate. Bhuta Bhovat Bhavakaro Visarga Karmasam Samjanitaha.
Thank you, Namratmati. And you can read the translation as well.
Okay, Prabhuji, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities.
Great. Thank you so much. So that's how, when we see the word Adhyatma, it refers to the self. So when we were talking about Adhyatmika, we were talking about the threefold miseries, because the miseries come in from the body and the mind. But even the soul is pure by nature, but because it's covered by the body and the mind and the senses, the suffering is actually independent of the soul by pure nature. Although it feels like the soul is suffering, but in its eternal nature, so is transcendental, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But because of the covering of the body suffers as a result of our activities in the material world. And then it mentions about how is that suffering caused? Because the action pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entities is called karma. So we always say the word karma. So when we're actually doing any performance of actions, whether it's good or bad, as you know, within karma, there's different types of karma. The main popular one that we know is karma, is vikarma, and akarma. Karma is the one which is actually in a neutral stage where we're doing it out of normal duty. Akarma is when you're doing something which doesn't have any cause for any reactions at all. You're doing it for the benefit of spiritual advancement. And vikarma is when you get some reaction. So when we talk about bad karma, we refer to as vikarma. And Mataji or somebody else wanted to read the next verse too, and that gives you explanation of the other two words that we were talking about.
I can go ahead, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Mataji.
Krishna. Adibhutam sharo bhava purushaschaधिदैवतम् Adiyagnohamevatra dehe dehabhritam vara. Translation. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adidaiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the supersoul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adi Yagna, the Lord of sacrifice. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So Adibhuta, the material manifestation, when we're talking about Adibhutika, when our suffering is caused by the threefold miseries, by other living entities, that's also part of that material manifestation as well. Bhuta refers to the material world in a way. And the other word was Adi Deva. And as we mentioned, Deva refers to like the Devas itself, the demigods. So Adi Devika is when we have natural disturbances, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, all sorts of things that goes on. You know, storms that we have just recently, Storm Claudia. That's caused by, or the word for that is Adidevika. And here, the universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and the moon, is called Adideva. Now, the final word is Adi Yagya, and that's the word that we also got to remember. Along with the threefold miseries, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adi Yagya, the Lord of the sacrifice. So when you perform sacrifices, all those threefold miseries becomes mitigated. It doesn't become as prevalent as you may want it to be, because you're actually understanding that everything that's happening has a reason, as a cause and effect, and that the Supreme Lord is the cause for causes, and it could increase or reduce our sufferings according to how we desire. But of course, just like when we hear the stories of Srila Prabhupada, you think, Prabhupada went through so much difficulties. I know I use this example a lot. Struggled so many years, 40 years, just preparation of trying to establish Krishna consciousness in India. Then he traveled with the Jaladuta boat. He went through tremendous hardships, suffered 2 heart attacks. Even in the first year, he kept on going from one dwelling place to another dwelling place to another dwelling place. No matter how many times he tried to ask for help, assistance, people were favorable, but they also tried to find a way not to help him as well. And I always think, why did Krishna just snap his fingers and everything would have happened just so nicely for Srila Prabhupada? What Srila Prabhupada went through in our own journey is almost like negligible. You know, how much Prabhupada had suffered, and we're so fortunate to be able to read the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita in a way that we wouldn't have been able to read if, say, for instance, we didn't have some senior devotees to guide us in a special way. You know, I mean, as I mentioned last week, we had our temples at home. Our parents may have taught us certain philosophy about religion, about certain duties, but we didn't understand it from a deep point of view. We were doing it more from a point of materialism rather than spiritualism. So only when Srila Prabhupada actually brought about Krishna consciousness to the West that we actually understood it. Now, if he actually preached Krishna consciousness in India, do you think we would have taken it as seriously? Perhaps not. I don't think so personally, because we're already born in a Hindu family and we wouldn't actually take it seriously. For me, when I saw the Westerners pray to Krishna, having the deity of the Lord, cooking prasadam, having taken care of the cows, having Gurukula, beautiful temples around the world, Bhaktivedanta Manor, it's got London. I was like, wow, what is it that they've so much involved in Krishna consciousness that we're not that much involved? And because of that relationship I had with younger children when I started coming to the temple, it allowed me to connect more seriously, more deeper. I'm sure many of you have also had that connection, that although you may have been doing your spiritual duties at home, but when you actually read a book like Bhagavad Gita or some spiritual books, association with devotees, having prasadam, then that actually was your spiritual stepping stone into taking Krishna consciousness more seriously. Okay, now I'm just going to go to the next verse. And this is what was explained about Swayambhuva Manu. He has created an atmosphere wherein he was not affected by material miseries. And of course, it's going to be explained in a bit more detail. But because he was a very Krishna conscious person, he doesn't actually see any difference between heaven and hell, because he sees that everything is actually subjective due to the limited or due to association of material nature. But when we actually free ourselves from that material bondage, that we actually come to that spiritual level, then we actually become a bit more focused and understanding that we actually are free from all these sufferings, adibhotik, adhyatmika, and adidevika. Now, for verse 33, the purport is quite long, so I'm just for time, I'll just read half of it. Sabarya sabraja kama buhuje naya virodata sangyamana satkirti shastri bihi suragayikai pratva pati visheshva adu madena Veda Shrivan Hari Kataha. Translation: Emperor Swayambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor, and early in the morning, every day, he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart. Purport: by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Human society is actually meant for self-realization or perfection in Krishna consciousness. There is no restriction against living with a wife and children, but life should be so conducted that one may not go against the principles of religion, economic development, regulated sense enjoyment, and ultimately liberation from material existence. The Vedic principles are designed in such a way that the conditioned soul who have not come to this material existence may be guided in fulfilling the material desires, and at the same time be liberated and go back to Godhead, back home. It is understood that Emperor Swayambhuva Manu enjoyed his household life by following these principles. It is stated here that early in the morning there were musicians who used to sing with musical instruments about the glories of the Lord. The Emperor with his family personally used to hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Person, by the Supreme Person. Now, just for time, Prabhupada actually further mentions about certain activities, as explained earlier on, the activities which Swayambhuva Manu used to carry out. That custom is still prevalent in India by royal families, where professional musicians sing early in the morning for the sleeping members so they can wake up early in the morning and understand and hear the beautiful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And they would actually participate in these activities as well. Similarly, in the evening, they would also fall asleep, remembering the glories of the Lord. So how many of you actually wake up early in the morning, saying prayers just to connect yourself spiritually? How many of you actually go to sleep, saying a prayer, thanking the Supreme Lord? Actually praying, please, 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 may I have dreams of you, my dear Lord, may I have dreams in such a way that I could reflect on what I've done that will improve in my spiritual journey. How many of you actually wake up in the morning performing all the morning duties before going to work? Of course, we have so many other duties to perform, taking care of our children, getting ready, having breakfast, having a shower. But as we wake up in the morning, it's so important, as I was mentioning last week, how many of you have actually stayed in the temple, actually gone through the morning program itself? By 4:30 in the morning, we have Mangalarti, followed by Tulsi Arati, followed by Japa session. Then we have wonderful data greetings in the morning, followed by Guru Puja. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam. That's practically about 5 hours constantly involved in spiritual activities before you even have some prasadam. So that's how you engage yourself so much, by focusing in spiritual activities. This is exactly what Srila Prabhupada was mentioning somehow, what I was mentioning last week. As far as temples are concerned, in each and every royal palace or rich man's house, inevitably there's a nice temple, and members of the household rise early in the morning, go to the temple to see Mangalarti ceremony. The Mangalarti ceremony is the first worship of the morning. The Arati ceremony is light. Light is offered in circles before the deities. As are corn shell and flowers and fan, the Lord is supposed to rise early in the morning and take some light refreshment, give audience to the devotees. Devotees then go back to the house or sing the glories of the Lord in the temple. The early morning ceremony still takes place in Indian temples and palaces. So we're very, very fortunate. So even though we may not be living in a temple, but many of us, I know many of you have beautiful deities at home, Radha Krishna deities, Gaunitai deities, deity of Srila Prabhupada, perhaps even a picture of their lordships, and we worship them in whatever way, capacity we can. But every day, see what you can do to enhance your spiritual connections to the Supreme Lord. Chant, reading, hearing, offering, playing musical instruments, singing, glories of the Supreme Lord, His beautiful pastimes, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So by doing this, we become engaged in Bhakti Yoga. By becoming engaged in Bhakti Yoga, then we get a chance to take a birth in our next family, in our next life, in a family of rich men, or in a royal family of learned brahmanas or devotees. And Prabhupada mentions that, it also mentions this particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita, if we don't actually succeed in our spiritual life, this lifetime, then it's not going in vain and such. And actually, that spiritual activities accrues in your next life. You're born in a family of aristocratic family, in a family of learned brahmanas, and you continue on in your spiritual journey. It's just like sometimes you see certain devotees, when they've just come into Krishna consciousness, they become very talented. They can be talented singers, they can be talented musicians, talented cooks, book distributors. In so many ways, so many wonderful devotees, they show their attribution in a way that, wow, you've only become a devotee in such a short time, and yet you're advancing so rapidly, so quickly. And I also mentioned previously, what is it that allows us to understand that we're actually advancing in our Krishna consciousness? And you can see a devotee who's advancing in Krishna consciousness because he's taken it very seriously, following the instructions of the spiritual master, following the regulator principles, following the evidence that's given in the Shastras, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, attending morning program, taking prasadam, doing things which are favorable in Krishna consciousness. And just like in the activities of a devotee, there are 5 things that we should always adhere to: reading Srimad Bhagavatam, deity worship, Vaishnava association, taking prasadam, living in a holy place like Mathura. But it's not always possible to live in a holy place, but we can make our home a temple. We can go to the temple as well, like a holy place of pilgrimage. Our temple, our body can become a temple as well. We decorate ourselves with tilak, we decorate ourselves in a way that represents that our body is used for, it's like a temple of Krishna. Our mind, our thoughts, our hearts, our senses are all engaged in Krishna's service. Just to finish off quickly, I am just going to share with you in the Nectar of Devotion, mentions about 64 specific instructions about how you engage yourself in Krishna conscious activities. And the basic principles is, first of all, this Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is the book written by Rupa Goswami. Give a thumbs up if anybody's read this particular book, or say yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, we have read in a Sangha group.
That's
with
really
a lot of
nice.
devotees, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. It is a really wonderful book, and I really recommend all of you at least read a few pages every day. If you can read a chapter, it actually really goes deeply into devotional service. As Swayambhuva Manu is completely focused on serving the Supreme Lord, even though he has other duties, pastoral duties, to fulfill, taking care of his household duties, but he's actually using it in a way which is actually transforms those material duties into spiritual duties. So the first important thing is, of course, accepting a spiritual, the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, to get initiation. Of course, we may not be ready to take initiation because we're still in that stage of actually understanding or connected to a spiritual authority that we may feel very comfortable in taking that spiritual master, because it's not a light sort of hearted responsibility. It's a two-way responsibility. The spiritual master also has a duty to take care of you in your journey, in your spiritual life, by the orders of the spiritual master. Sorry, I'm just reading down here quickly. For following the footsteps of the greater chariots. The first few steps are specifically focused on the spiritual master, as we mentioned last week, about the two prayers, Yasha Prashada, Bhagavad Prashada, Yasha Prashada, Nagati Katopi, is so important, all previous verses. Then I'm just going to talk about the 10 preliminary necessities for beginning or discharging of the devotional services. The first one, does anybody want to read this at all? Starting from one should rigidly give up.
I can do it.
Yeah,
Go on,
Mataji,
Indira
go
Mataji.
ahead.
No, I think Indira Mataji came off mute. Go on,
Yes.
Indira Mataji.
Yes, Indira Mataji.
Mataji, you go ahead. We can share. You read first and I'll follow.
Okay, Mataji. Is it from number one?
Yes,
Krishna
please.
Govind
Yeah.
Dasa?
Yeah.
Okay, the next set of instructions is listed as follows. One should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. One should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. One should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. On to you, Mataji.
You can read 5 each. Yeah. So
Okay.
Namrata, carry on to number 5.
Okay, Prabhuji. One should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or by professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita. One should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. Hare Krishna.
One should not, under spell of lamentation or loss or tribulation in gain. One should not disrespect the demigods. One should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entities. One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deities in the temple. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna or his devotees. Without following the above-mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. So there are many other sort of points, reflections on one, how they should actually engage themselves in Krishna consciousness. And it mentions, as Mataji and Mataji mentioned earlier on, we don't actually follow the above mentioned 10 principles, then we don't actually advance ourselves in our spiritual activities on the platform of sadhana bhakti or the devotional service in practice. So it's important that we actually follow these 10 instructions, very adherent to our heart, in a way that we could also become like that stage of Paramahamsa as well. Of course, we always want to be humble. We want to be at the fallen conditioned souls. But the idea is that the whole purpose of Krishna consciousness is to purify ourselves, to also go back to Krishna, to his eternal abode, but at the same time, bring with us all the conditional souls who may not be or fully understanding this opportunity of Krishna consciousness. So as a devotee, because we always feeling lamentation for those who are suffering, we also want to show that compassion by bringing them closer to Krishna consciousness. So it goes on further on, but what I was going to do is just share you the last few points. If it's still highlighted, okay. Perhaps if you want to just read this, let's just say. Sorry. Okay, if you just go ahead, I'm just going to put myself on mute for a minute.
Leave the printed one. Okay. Live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwaraka. Offer service to Vaishnavas or devotees. Arrange a devotional service according to your means. In the month of Kartika, October and November, make arrangements for special services. During Janmashtami, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, observe a special service. Do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity. Relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading amongst devotees and not amongst outsiders. Anything else below, Prabhuji? Associate with devotees who are considered more advanced. Live in the jurisdiction of Mathura. Now the total regulative principles come to an aggregate of 64 items. As we have mentioned, the first are primary, 10 regulative principles.
Great.
Then comes the second of 10 regulative principles, and added to these are the 44 other activities. Hare Krishna.
Great. Thank you so much. So basically, I was just explaining about those 5 principles that we should always do, like live in a holy place, regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Vaishnava Sangha, and also associate with devotees. And also at the same time, there's one other one as well, Seva, Prasad Seva as well, honoring Prasadam. So doing those 5 duties, also deity worship as well, it really helps us progress in our spiritual journey in such a way that if we lag behind in one of those activities, then at least we can sort of increase the activities in another area. And then when one activity sort of slightly diminishes, then increase an activity in another area. But the idea is that within those 5 principles, we should try and engage ourselves as much as possible, and also engaging others at the same time in a way which your family could all live together. You know, it could be brothers, sisters, mother, father, children, cousins. You know, our family is unlimited in so many ways. It could be friends, colleagues as well, you know, neighbors. There's no restrictions to how you can spread Krishna consciousness. It's down to each individual. It's up to each individual. If you have that devotion to serving Krishna, then why not give that to other people? And this month of Christmas, this month of December is the Winter Marathon. We sort of try to encourage everybody to at least go out, give a book out to somebody else who may not have that opportunity to get a book of Krishna, but also for you to also reflect and understand why it's so important about reading the Srila Prabhupada's books as well. So do your best, whatever you can, in helping push this movement in Krishna consciousness to every part of the world, so we can be free from this material miseries of Adibhautik, Adhyatmika, and Adidevika. Thank you very much, everyone. Sorry, I went slightly over time. I'll pass it on to Namrata Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna Mataji. Please forgive me for any mistakes and offenses.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my humble obeisance. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, just a very quick reflection. This was music, listening to Nectar of Devotion. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing. Wonderful class, as always, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So Prabhuji, for today, we have Gaurangi Devi Dasi Mataji, who's going to sing a beautiful bhajan, Yuglashtakam, which is Krishna Prema Mai Radha. But before she sings, I'm going to do the English recitation, if that's okay, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'm okay to share if you want, because I have it open already.
Sure, Namrata Mataji, go ahead, yeah.
Can you see it, Prabhuji? Just checking if you can see it.
Yes, if you just increase the size.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will. There you go. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Let me just open my page.
Sure.
You may have to reduce it because
it goes on the right hand side.
Yeah,
Prabhuji?
that's right, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Radha is made of pure love for Krishna, and Hari is made of pure love of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is the treasure of Krishna, and Hari is the treasure of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha pervades the life force of Krishna, and Hari pervades the life force of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is totally melted with Krishna, and Hari is totally melted with Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is situated in the body of Krishna, and Hari is situated in the body of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is fixed in the heart of Krishna, and Hari is fixed in the heart of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha wears cloth of blue color, and Hari wears cloth of yellow color. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. Radha is the mistress of Vrindavana, and Krishna is the master of Vrindavana. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter. On to you, Gaurangi Devi Dasi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Dandavat Pranam. Okay. Mataji, shall I start now, Mataji?
Yes, please, Mataji. Yes,
Okay.
please, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय। कृष्णा प्रेममयी राधा, राधा प्रेममयो हरिः, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्णस्य द्रविणं राधा, राधाया द्रविणं हरिः, कृष्णस्य द्रविणं राधा, राधाया द्रविणं हरिः, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण प्राणमयी राधा, राधा प्राणमयो हरिः, कृष्ण प्राणमयी राधा, राधा प्राणमयो हरिः, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण द्रवमयी राधा, राधा द्रवमयो हरिः, कृष्ण द्रवमयी राधा, राधा द्रवमयो हरिः, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण गेहे स्थिता राधा, राधा गेहे स्थितो हरिः, कृष्ण गेहे स्थिता राधा, राधा गेहे स्थितो हरिः, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम, जीवने निधने नित्यम्, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम कृष्ण चित्त स्थित राधा राधा चित्त स्थित हरि कृष्ण चित्त स्थित राधा राधा चित्त स्थित हरि जीवाने निदाने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम जीवाने निदाने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम नीलम्बरधर राधा पीताम्बरधर हरिः नीलम्बरधर राधा पीताम्बरधर हरिः जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम वृन्दावनेश्वरी राधा कृष्ण वन्दवनेश्वरः वृन्दावनेश्वरी राधा कृष्ण वृन्दावनेश्वरः जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम कृष्ण प्रेममयी राधा राधा प्रेममयो हरिः जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम जीवने निधने नित्यम् राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोकुल नंद राधा गोकुल नंद राधे जय राधा गोकुल नंद राधा गोकुल नंद राधा गोकुल नंद श्री राधे जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा माता जी। थैंक यू
Hare
नमिता
Krishna.
माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
Oh, glories to your service, Mataji. Oh, glory to your Prabhupada. Wonderful singing. Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Beautiful bhajan and beautiful singing.
थैंक
Thank
यू
you.
माता जी। हरे
Thank you.
कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
थैंक
On to
यू।
you, Krishna Govind Dasa, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gaurangi Mataji, for singing that beautiful song. You won't believe it, I was just listening to that same song about 1 hour just before I started my class. It's a beautiful song. I just sent the link on, it's a Spotify song. It's a Mataji called Ramya Mataji. She's so beautiful in her singing and her devotion. It's a very old CD. It's about 10 years old or so, probably even older, I think. Probably about 15 years old. But the way she sings, and also she very much sings this beautiful song. If you've ever been to New Rajadam, he sings this beautiful song as well. It's such a beautiful translation as recited by Namrata Mataji. And thank you so much, Gaurangi Mataji, for singing it. And as we mentioned in the class today, that when the devotees wake up, when the kings wake up, they listen to spiritual Krishna conscious music. So how many of you actually wake up to Krishna conscious music on your alarm? Okay, you're just really shy. But
Not
anyway,
yet, Prabhuji. Not yet.
so the idea is that it's so easy on your mobile phone, when you actually go to your alarm, you can actually change the setting and choose a song of your choice. So Prabhupada, Guru Vastikam or Hare Krishna mantra, some of your favorite song that allows you to wake up. And you'll be surprised, it really does wake you up. But sometimes I do have to admit, I used to put Shiv Maharaj early in the morning as well, and Guru Maharaj singing Bhakti Chor Maharaj for my morning alarm. But it's so beautiful. I just didn't feel like getting up as well. So there's another side to it as well. Because you feel so transcendently peaceful just listening to their songs, them singing. So thank you very much, everyone. I won't keep you too long. Have a wonderful rest of the evening for Sunday, and have a wonderful spiritually enlightening week next week and all of December. Encouraging everybody to go out and book distribution, give one book out to somebody at least, if it's feasible. Yeah. Vancha kapa tarubhishya kripa siddhibhya patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you,
Jai Srimad
Prabhuji, for a
Bhagavatam
wonderful
ki
class.
jai.
Jai Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.
जय।
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you।
Prabhuji.
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण।
Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.